Hi, my name is Chester Ismay, and I'll be your instructor for this course on joining data in PostgreSQL. As the name suggests, the focus of this course is using SQL to join two or more database tables together into a single table, an essential skill for data scientists. In this chapter, you'll learn about the inner join, which along with the left join are probably the two most common joins. You'll see diagrams throughout this course that are designed to help you understand the mechanics of the different joins. Let's begin with a diagram showing the layout of some data and then how an inner join can be applied to that data. In the videos in this chapter and the next, we'll often work with two tables named left and right. You can see that matching values of the ID field are colored with the same color. The ID field is known as a key field, since it can be used to reference one table to another. Both the left and right tables also have another field named val. This will be useful in helping you see specifically which records and values are included in each join. An inner join only includes records in which the key is in both tables. You can see here that the ID field matches for values of 1 and 4 only. With inner joins, we look for matches in the right table corresponding to all entries in the key field in the left table. So the focus here shifts to only those records with a match in terms of the ID field. The records not of interest to inner join have been faded. Here's a resulting single table from the inner join clause that gives the val field from the right table with records corresponding to only those with ID value of 1 or 4, which are colored as yellow and purple. Now that you have a sense for how inner join works, let's try an example in SQL. The Prime Minister's table is one of the tables in the Leaders database. It is displayed here. Note the countries that are included. Suppose you are interested in determining nations that have both a Prime Minister and a President and putting the results into a single table. Next, you'll see the President's table. How did I display all the Prime Minister's table in the previous slide? Recall the use of select and from clauses as is shown for the President's table here. Which countries appear in both tables? With small tables like these, it is easy to notice that Egypt, Portugal, Vietnam, and Haiti appear in both tables. For larger tables, it isn't as simple as just picking these countries out visually. So what does the syntax look like for SQL to get the results of countries with a Prime Minister and a President from these two tables into one? The syntax for completing an inner join from the Prime Minister's table to the President's table based on a key field of country is shown. Note the use of aliases for Prime Ministers as P1 and Presidents as P2. This helps to simplify your code, especially with longer table names like Prime Ministers and Presidents. A select statement is used to select specific fields from the two tables. In this case, since country exists in both tables, we must write P1 and the period to avoid a SQL error. Next, we list the table on the left of the inner join after from, and then we list the table on the right after inner join. Lastly, we specify the keys in the two tables that we would like to match on. You'll now practice applying an inner join to two tables and to three tables. Let's get to it. Congratulations on making it through the first set of exercises on using inner join to combine two or three tables into one. You'll next learn about the using keyword in SQL and how it can be used in joins. Recall the inner join diagram you saw in the last video. Think about the SQL code needed to complete this diagram. Let's check it out. We select and alias three fields and use the left table on the left of the join and the right table on the right of the join, matching based on the entries for the ID key field. When the key field you'd like to join on is the same name in both tables, you can use a using clause instead of the on clause you have seen so far. Since ID is the same name in both the left table and the right table, we can specify using instead of on here. Note that the parentheses are required around the key field with using. Let's revisit the example of joining the Prime Minister's table to the President's table to determine countries with both types of leaders. How could you fill in the blanks to get the result with using? Did you get it? I played a bit of a trick on you here. But why does this work? Since an inner join includes entries in both tables, and both tables contain the countries listed, it doesn't matter the order in which we place the tables in the join if we select these columns. You'll be told in the exercises which table to use on the left and on the right to avoid this confusion. Note again the use of the parentheses around country after using. Now you'll test your understanding of inner joins before we delve into an exercise with using. Go get them. You'll now dive into inner joins where a table is joined with itself. Sounds a little selfish, doesn't it? These type of joins, as you may have guessed, are called self-joins. You'll also explore how to slice a numerical field into categories using the case command. Joining a table to itself may seem like a bit of a crazy, strange thing to ever want to do. Self-joins are used to compare values in a field to other values of the same field from within the same table. Let's further explore this with an example. Recall the Prime Minister's table from earlier. What if you wanted to create a new table showing countries that are in the same continent matched as pairs? Let's explore a chunk of inner join code using the Prime Minister's table. You might want to pause the video and think about what the resulting table will look like. The country column is selected twice, as well as continent. The Prime Minister's table is on both the left and the right. The vital step here is setting the key columns by which we match the table to itself. For each country, we will have a match if the country in the right table, that's also Prime Minister's, is in the same continent. Lastly, since the results of this query are more than can fit on the slide, you'll only see the first 14 records. See how we have exactly this in the result? It's a pairing of each country with every other country in its same continent. But do you see a problem here? We don't want to list the country with itself after all. In the next slide, you'll see a way to do this. Pause to think about how to get around this before continuing. We don't want to include rows where the country is the same in the country 1 and country 2 fields. The AND clause can check that multiple conditions are met. Here, a match will not be made between Prime Ministers and itself if the countries match. You thus have the correct table now. The results here are again limited in order for them to fit on the slide. Notice that self-join doesn't have a syntax quite as simple as inner join. You can't just write self-join in SQL code. The next command isn't a join, but is a useful tool in your repertoire. You'll be introduced to using case with another table in the leaders database. The states table contains numeric data about different countries in the 6 inhabited world continents. We'll focus on the field in-depth year now. Suppose we'd like to group the year of independence into categories of before 1900, between 1900 and 1930, and after 1930. Case will get us there. Case is a way to do multiple if, then, else statements in a simplified way in SQL. You can now see the basic layout for creating a new field containing the groupings. How might we fill them in? After the first when should specify that we want to check for in-depth year being less than 1900. Next, we want in-depth year group to contain between 1900 and 1930 in the next blank. Lastly, any other record not matching these conditions will be assigned the value of after 1930 for in-depth year group. Check out the completed query with completed blanks. Notice how the values of in-depth year are grouped in in-depth year group. Also notice how continent relates to in-depth year group. You'll now work on a couple of exercises for practice, then complete a challenge testing your knowledge of the Chapter 1 material.